Please, Mel, give me the 5 hacks. How the hell do I make these new habits stick? How do I create structure, discipline, and order in my life? Well, it's very simple. You're going to use simple hacks. That's all you're going to do. You can call them systems. You can call them triggers. You can call them cues. You can call them structure. You can call them whatever you want to be. My friend Amy, who you have heard on this podcast, has this term that I laugh about so much because it makes me think of belly buttons. But she basically says there are 2 kinds of people in this world. There are people that are innie organizers, meaning you manage everything in your head, right? You're thinking about it all the time. That's not how you're going to be successful when it comes to change. I was an innie organizer, and I have an innie belly button, in case you're wondering. I know that's a little bit too much information. I don't know why, but it is kind of intimate to share whether you have an innie or an outie belly button. But I have an innie. I blame it. You can blame that on the doctor who tied your umbilical cord. Yep. I often tell myself that if only the doctor who tied my umbilical cord, who happened to be my father, who was a medical resident at the time, I blame my father for the fact that it doesn't matter how much I exercise. I have a hamburger bun belly button. It's like a flat line. And I say to myself, if he had only tied the knot tighter, I would have one of those amazing round belly buttons that are like the size of a nickel that some people have. I've always wanted one of those. No, I'm not getting surgery. But so I have an innie flat hamburger bun belly button. That's not what I was supposed to be talking to you about. An innie organizer is somebody who tries to stay organized in their head. You have to be an outie organizer. That's what you have to be when it comes to habits. Why? Well, remember, in the episode we just released on the science of habits, there are only 3 parts to a habit based on all of the research in habits. Science has never changed. The cue, the behavior pattern, and the trigger. That's it. You have to figure out systems to have the cue or the trigger outside of you. And when you start to figure out how to get the cue, the thing that signals the new behavior outside of you, get it out of your any head and get it out into the world. When you start to do that, that's the secret to making behavior stick. And what you're going to learn is going to blow your mind, because I know that when you're trying to change your head, you're keeping it all in your head and you're not using systems outside of you, you are frustrated like Ann is.
Hi, Mel. I'm Ann, and here's my question. Why is it so hard to break through some daily habits and do things differently? Why can't I stay consistent in my daily tasks?
I'll tell you why you're frustrated. The same reason why every innie organizer is frustrated, because you are trying to stay consistent in your head and you are not using simple systems and simple physical cues to keep you organized and to keep these changes top of mind. That's it. And you are managing so much. And you listening to me, you don't give yourself enough credit for how much you're juggling in your own mind. Stop keeping behavior change in your own mind and let's get it out of your head, because I want you to know something. You're not the problem. You have everything within you. You're not the problem. You are capable of learning new habits. You are capable of making amazing things happen. You're not the problem. The problem is that you're attacking this as an innie organizer. You are planning to do this all in your head. And all you need is outie systems that keep these new changes front and center in front of you. That's how you stay consistent. Stop relying on willpower. Stop relying on having to remember what you need to do. Absolutely not. There is no way you are going to achieve your goals or stay consistent or make all those amazing changes that you want to make, that you deserve to have happen, unless you start to implement systems in your life. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take a short break. We're going to hear a short word from our sponsors. And then I'm going to come right back and I'm going to teach you right now the 5 simple systems that I am using right now. I have researched these because I'll be damned if I do not complete the 75 hard challenge, especially since I'm doing it with my husband, who's doing it now for the 3rd time, and he's leading a group of people from around the world through it. My daughter's also in, her boyfriend is in, so is my brother. There is no fucking way I am letting myself fail. And I will fail like I did last time. if I rely on my own mind. So I am getting out of my head and I am getting into my systems, and so are you. And I'm going to explain them in just a second. Welcome back. So we are talking about the 5 simple systems that are going to help you make new behavior change stick. Okay. So system number 1, and this is the Mac Daddy of Audi organizing. Ready? Make it visible. And by make it visible, I mean put it in front of your freaking face. Okay? Because here's the cool thing. Instead of rearranging your mind and your mental to-do list, rearrange your house and your environment to support you in remembering your goals and achieving your habits. Okay? That's how you make this stick. You make it visible. You make it obvious. So let me give you a list of some of the things that I have done. So first, I have the list of all of the things that I need to accomplish in this challenge taped to my mirror above my bathroom sink. Why is it there? Well, because I want to make it visible and obvious. It's the first thing that I see in the morning, and it's the last thing that I see at night. Here's another example of a way to make the habit or the goal visible. My water bottle and the nonfiction book that I'm reading, I put that by the coffee maker every single night. It is sitting there in the morning. Why? Because I can't miss it. I mean, it's obvious. I walk in, I go to make my coffee, boom, there it is. It's like, hey, bitch, don't forget to drink the water. Hey, read that book. Don't pick up the phone. Like, do you see how much easier I made that on myself? Instead of having to go in my head and be like, doing mental gymnastics with my, don't pick up the phone. You remember, you got to read the book. I don't want to read the book. It's like sitting right there out of me. I can't ignore it. Here's another way to make things visible, to support yourself. We have this little beverage fridge, right? And normally it's got a ton of beer and wine in it. You know what's in it right now? Not beer and wine. It's now stocked with kombucha, non-alcoholic beer, and awesome non-alcoholic spirits, and all kinds of spindrits and seltzers and Topo Chicos and all the kind of non-alcoholic stuff that I love to drink. Why? Because then when I feel a little craving and I go to open up the little beverage fridge because I'm going to sneak, because I'm sneaky and I'm a rebel and I only made it a week through the challenge last time, so God knows I'm going to want to sneak it sometime. What do I have? The stuff that I don't want to drink. But the thing that I need to drink is right there. It's visible. Here's another way that I make the habit visible. Every night before I go to bed, I lay out my exercise clothes on the floor. It is a giant middle finger to myself because you want to know what? When I wake up in the morning, do I want to work out? Do I want to have to work out outside? Hell no. It's 37 degrees and raining in Vermont right now. Who in their right mind wants to go outside? But when I wake up, it's visible. It's outside of my head. It's in my face. It is reminding me, oh, there's that promise that you regret that you made, Mel. And then I have to remind me of my why as I'm pulling on my tights. The question is, why does this work? Well, let's turn to research from Harvard Business School. Because this research from Harvard Business School shows that when we make decisions for our future selves, we make better decisions. So let me unpack this for you, okay? When you wake up in the morning and you got all your habits and goals in your head, it's the old you. And you got a decision to make in the morning, right? Do I feel like exercising? Do I even remember I need to exercise? It's sleeting, horizontal, disgusting 37-degree rain outside. Do I feel like exercising? If you are in your head making a decision in real time, you are likely going to make a bad decision, right? I don't want to exercise, so I'm not going to. I'll do it later. But when you make decisions for your future self, and that's what you're doing when you literally take the time to put a Post-it note on a mirror. That's what you're doing when you take the time to pull all of the booze out of the fridge and stock it instead with better choices. That's what I'm doing when I put the clothes on the floor. I am making a decision as my future self. I am saying, I know Mel Robbins well enough to know at some point this woman is going to have no willpower. She is going to be weak. She is going to be desperate. She is going to be emotional. And so I need to make a decision for the future Mel Robbins the Mel Robbins that wants to change. And when you think from that point of view and you set yourself up for success by making these things visible, you freaking win. Because according to Harvard Business School, you make better decisions when you think about who is the future you and what would that person do. So the night before, plan out as many decisions as you can. Because the other thing that you can do, and that means put the water bottle by the coffee maker, set the journal out where you're going to see it, lay out the clothes, put the phone in a different room so that it's not there to look at first thing in the morning. These are things that you can do as the future you. What would the person who already lives this lifestyle be doing? Act like that version of you. And when you set yourself up and make all this stuff visual, here's the other cool thing that happens. You reduce what's called decision fatigue the very next day. And you're taking advantage of this planning for your future self. And you know what? There's a third benefit. I love this. It lowers activation energy. So we talked about this in the episode called Motivation is Garbage. Activation energy is just a fancy term that means how much fuel or energy does it take you to get started on something? Activation energy is the force that you need to apply to doing something. So I'll go back to the example. It is so much easier for me to get going when my exercise tights are on the floor next to my bed. Duh. It is so much easier for me to get my water consumption done, to drink that like big first thing of water if it's sitting out waiting for me. Duh. Because it takes a lot more energy, right? A lot more force, a lot more fuel for me to not only haul my ass out of bed, but to remember I need to put on exercise tights and to pull open the drawer and to figure out which pair to wear and then to pull them on and then to look at the jog bras and then to decide if I need a sweatshirt or I need a this or I've had to like burn through fuel just to figure out what freaking outfit to put on. By making decisions for my future self and making it visible, boom shakalaka, people, this is easy. I am setting myself up for success. Here's another powerful way to make things visible. Use the alarm on your phone. Seriously, this is a genius hack. Put the alarm on your phone to use to help you be your future self. It's like a reminder from the future, okay? Cake's done. Get up, go check on it. No, seriously. So every single smartphone has the ability to set an alarm. And on the alarm, when you go to set the time, there's a label. Right now it says alarm. You can literally change the label to help you remember anything. And here's what's super cool about a simple alarm on your phone. Research has found that twice as many people who received quit smoking messages quit smoking over a 6-month period. So these little systems like setting an alarm on your phone, whether you're reminding yourself to take the vitamins that you want to be taking, or you're reminding yourself to get outside for the run, or you're reminding yourself to spend 30 minutes working on a project that you wanted to get done, they're going to make you, based on the research, twice as successful, twice more likely. This simple stuff works. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard, right? Not that hard to put a Post-it note on the mirror. Not that hard to set an alarm in your phone. Not that hard to set the water bottle out, but you got to do it, okay? Simple systems work because your life is complicated enough. And if you can put that Post-it note up, you are setting yourself up for success. I'm telling you, it's true. And that leads me to system number 2. And this is the one that Mel Robbins has to use even more than like stick it in your face. And this is the opposite. Get it the fuck out of here, okay? Remove the temptation from your sight. Get it out of here. Out of sight, out of mind. I wish that were true. Because a lot of times you're going to find that even when you say, okay, that's it. I'm not going to eat gluten. I'm not going to eat sugar. I'm not going to eat dairy. Still going to be on your mind, which is why it needs to be out of sight. So the things that you don't want to do, the bad habits that you have, the little addictions like your phone, let's make it harder for you to just slip into those things, okay? So let me give you some examples. If you don't want to drink, put the alcohol away. Get it off the countertop. Get it in a cupboard. Better yet, put it in the basement. If you need to get up early or if you want more sleep, here's what you need to do. Get your phone out of the bedroom. This one simple system, remove the phone from your bedroom, will change your life because it won't be there. You won't look at it in the middle of the night. You won't look at it as you're laying in bed. You won't lay in bed and look at it. Get it out of your bedroom. You want to know why? You can't be trusted. Neither can I. And I'm going to give you a really harsh example of this. Let's say the person you love the most has a really bad addiction. Like, let's just put it out there. They're addicted to cocaine, okay? You love them. They're trying. They're recovering. They're doing great. Would you ever put an 8-ball on the bedside table? Of course not. You are more addicted to your phone than people who are addicted to cocaine. I'm not kidding about this. The research is very clear. And so anything that you have a problem regulating yourself with, get it out of your sight. It's an addiction. I'm dead serious about this because I am in that category when it comes to the phone. I know this intellectually. In my head, I know that I shouldn't be looking at my phone, which is why I got to get it out of my bedroom so that I don't look at it. I'll give you another example. For the next 75 days, gluten-free, dairy-free. Why on earth would I stock my fridge with the cheeses that I love? I'm not going to, because it would be torture. And look, if you can't remove it from your fridge because you have kids who drink milk or your roommates are all drinking alcohol, you can certainly stick the milk in the back of the fridge. You are within your rights to ask your roommates if they could just store the alcohol in the cupboard instead of on the counter, so it's not like there in your face. You only have to be. And here's what's so cool about removing it. The research shows that when you hack your environment this way, right? This is just a simple system. Get it the fuck out of here, okay? Out of here. We got the Audi out of here. You only have to have that temptation a tiny bit more inconvenient to have this system work. They did this really interesting study at Google where they used to keep M&Ms in open bowls at Google, and they were curious in the Google offices. What if we just switched up the system here, and instead of having M&Ms in open bowls, what if we put them in bowls that had lids on them? The candies are still there. You want to know what happened? Employees ate 3 million less M&Ms over the course of a year. Why? Because out of sight, out of mind. Making it just a tiny bit more inconvenient to get the candy had people often pass on it. And the candy wasn't so tempting because they couldn't see it. And this also proves what you've already learned. Decision fatigue is a real thing. Simply having to consider lifting off the lid before you reach the M&Ms created enough friction for people, enough of a pause, that it made them not do it. Just like you having to pull open the drawer and pick out your exercise tights often has you walk right past that drawer and not do it at all. So, if you want to do it, stick it in front of your face. If you don't, get it out of your sight. Because I promise you, there is going to be a moment where you are going to get desperate and you are going to be wondering, why did I agree to do this thing? You're going to be Zoe standing there at a lunch wanting to eat cake. You're going to be Eric, and instead of turning that treadmill on, you're going to want to take your coat and launch it right on top of that treadmill. Or you're going to be like me. This morning, as I am standing there in the kitchen and I'm making a cup of coffee and I am pouring this plant-based creamer into my coffee, and I'm thinking, I would kill another human being for whole milk right now. I even scrounged around in the fridge to see if there was any in there. I'm not going to lie. Not proud of that moment. It's a weak moment for Mel Robbins. I am way more addicted to my whole milk than I thought. Sadly, there wasn't. Well, you know what? Not sadly. Thankfully, there wasn't any in there. I had no choice because I got the fuck out of there because I know myself well enough that if I have an option to be a rebel and cheat, I will likely take it. And so I'm glad. I'm glad I choked down the plant-based creamer and I got 69 more days to go. Now let's go to another question. And this one comes from Jack.
Hey, Mel, it's Jack. I've got a quick question for you. If I start setting goals, how do I know if I'm going to be successful? What's kind of the biggest indicator or way for me to know that I'm on track?
Jack, great question. And it brings me to system number 3. And I got to tell you to brace yourself because this is going to sound redunculously obvious. But the only way to know that you're on track is to track. Period. That's system number 3. You have to track your progress. Again, let's go back to any organization versus outie organization. You are no longer allowed to track your progress casually in your mind. You need to get it outside your mind, which means you need a system for tracking progress. And so back to 75 Hard, I'm going to share with you my daughter's system, which I've stolen. What she did is she created this amazing grid on the wall using Post-it notes. And so for every single day of the 75 days, she wrote 1 through 75 and then created this giant square grid on the wall. And every single evening when she finishes the day, she pulls a Post-it note off. And pulling that Post-it note off, that is like, that's like a rip. That's like a yes. That gives you the dopamine. That is like a box checked. If you are a to-do list, I love my boxes checked. I love my things in order. You will love checking boxes and keeping track. Another example of this, tracking the miles you run on an app like Strava. Or maybe you can just like make a grid on your computer and print it off, or find one, on Google and print it off online. Checking boxes either on something you've printed off or on a habit tracker. I personally prefer paper because I'm 54 and Chris, my husband's 53 today. So I had to think about, okay, wait, how old am I? I robbed the cradle. He's 17 months younger than me. It really works. Okay. So I sometimes forget to log on to apps. And so for me, you got to understand yourself. You have to make these systems work for you. An app may be the best damn thing that's ever happened to you. For me, when it comes to tracking myself, it's got to be paper. I got to see it somewhere like right in front of my face, which is why I use my bathroom mirror. I will also use the wall in front of my computer or the refrigerator, places that I know that I'm going to bump into it. For you, you may be fine doing it on your phone, on a computer, but that system doesn't work for me. And so that's the other thing. Kind of be flexible with this. Try things out. See what feels right for you. But tracking your progress, this is not negotiable. Get it out of your head because there is foundational research here. See, you start to get addicted to keeping a streak. Think about Snapchat. Ooh, we got a streak. I don't want to break the streak. Think about have you ever noticed that you're out now, everybody's all addicted to Be Real. And the second that notification goes off, people are like, oh, we got to do our Be Real today. I didn't do my Be Real today. This is about streaks and progress and not breaking the chain of progress. And so in apps and social media apps, they've gamified this natural tendency in psychology. And so you can do the same. Create a system that's fun for tracking yourself. And remember what I said at the very beginning, Zoe, my cake eaters, my sugar cutter outers, my people who keep making promises that they don't know why they're doing it. Get clear about your why. And remember, if you're doing a grid and you have a day off, first of all, you will know that it's a day off. Shake it off and try to get back on track tomorrow. Okay? We don't really want to see 2 or 3 days off in a row, but if you're tracking your progress, this is the other magic of tracking it outside your mind, you see it. And you're empowered to get back on track the next day so you can check that box. Love it. And look, I think it's obvious, but also there's research that's proven that the more often that you track your progress, the greater the likelihood that you're going to succeed. And the chances of your success are even more likely if you report your progress publicly or you physically record it. So this is what I'm talking about. Physically record it. Physically record it in an app, physically record it on a piece of paper. This comes from Dr. Benjamin Harkin of the University of Sheffield, published this in the Journal of Psychological Bulletin. Harkin and his colleagues, this is not like some one-off study. They conducted a meta-analysis of 138 studies. And you know what that means to us real people here? It means that he took 138 studies on goal setting that had almost 200,000 people in it. And when they combined it all and crunched the data, they found that that monitoring your progress toward a goal, no questions asked, increased the likelihood that you would achieve the goal. There's like no arguing with me on this one. So if you don't want to achieve the goal and you don't want the behavior to stick, I got an idea for you. Manage it in your head. If you're serious about making the habit stick, you're serious about the goal happening, monitor this shit, okay? Let's get serious. Let's stop dicking around here about what you actually want to do, and let's use these systems. We got 2 more systems to cover, but first, I have to take a quick break. We got to monitor our sponsors, listen in, let's hear what they have to say, and then when we come back, we're talking system number 4 and system number 5. I'll see you in a minute. All right, welcome back. So happy you're here. See, I'm monitoring your progress. You came back. Check. So we've talked about the first 3 Audi systems. Make it visible, like right in front of your face. Get it out of your head, put it in front of your face. Number 2, whatever you're not supposed to do, get it the fuck out of here, okay? Let's just remove all temptation. You and I are friends. We know we're kind of rebels. We know we can't be trusted until we can be trusted. So let's just get it out of here. Number 3, monitor your progress, okay? We are serious about change around here, which means you got to get it out of your head. Get it on paper, get it in an app, and get public about it, okay? Super important about this. Let's talk about system number 4. This is another way to get out of your head, okay? Get it out of your mind. Create a plan. I'm going to say that again. Create a plan. We are not talking kindergarten habit here, people. We are talking college level, PhD, habit sticking systems. We're not screwing around. If you want to freestyle in your mind, you are not going to be successful. This is not jazz. We're not like just going off the rails here. We are following the music score to the T. You need a plan, people. And this comes from a study, this comes from studies, okay? You know I'm throwing the science at you because a lot of times, when the stuff is common sense, yeah, I know I need a plan, Mel. Yeah, well, then why aren't you doing it? So let me tell you the research. At UT Austin, they found you're going to be more likely to succeed at behavior change if you make specific plans to implement it. Now, I don't mean to insult your intelligence because I think this is obvious. But when you unpack an example of this, it becomes very obvious why you're failing if you fail to plan. So let's go back to 75 Hard and my promise and commitment to complete 2 workouts every single day, one of which has to be outside. It is critical that I plan ahead. Critical. I am fucked if I don't plan because I travel for work. And so I'm looking at flights right now for a 16-day business trip at the end of January. And as I'm looking at flights, you know what I'm thinking? How the hell am I going to get an outside workout and an indoor workout in? And I got to still fly from San Diego back to Boston. Or here's another way that I'm planning. Tomorrow in southern Vermont, we're going to have 4 inches of snow on the ground. And when am I going to work out? And what am I going to wear? And do I need the grippy things on my feet because the driveway is like a luge run right now? And what time of day am I going to? Like, am I going to get this done before 4 o'clock, which is when winter comes and the Death Eaters are here and it's dark as hell? And based on my schedule, like, I got to plan this stuff because you know what? If I don't and I just start my day, here's what's going to happen. I am literally going to go, I'll do it later. And then it'll be 8 o'clock at night. I got to tell you a quick story about my husband, Chris, because this is when it occurred to me that I might be married to either a robot or to the world's most disciplined person on the planet. So Chris started 75 Hard for the third time, well over a month ago. And so it was December 21st, and we had woken up in New York, because we go there every year during the holidays to see a show with the kids. It's just one of our traditions. And Chris exercised, did his first workout in the hotel gym in New York. We then drove to Connecticut. We had lunch with his brother. And then we drove up to Boston, where we were going to stay with his oldest brother, and we were going to go to a holiday party. Now, as we're driving to Boston, the weather gets supremely crappy, and we are driving in horizontal rain. You can barely see. It is foggy as hell. And I'm looking at the time, and I'm thinking, we are going to arrive 30 minutes after this big party has started. This party with all of our old friends where we used to live in Boston. I was so excited to go to this party. And I'm thinking in my mind, Chris hasn't gotten his outdoor workout yet. Could he maybe just stick his head out the window and like do some face exercises? Like, could we, do something? Like, what are we going to, I want to go to the party. I'll tell you what, this is impressive. The man said, I have to get this done. I'm like, but it is raining horizontal outside. It is dark. You don't know the neighborhood we're going to. There are no street. He's like, I don't care. I'm doing it. We pulled outside. We decided to go to his oldest brother's house because he was getting this done. He said he would do this. And bad planning fucked him. But he was not going to let bad planning break a promise that he had made to himself. This is what integrity looks like. So we go, not to the party, but we go to his brother's house. And I sat inside because there was no way I was going to go to that party without him while I knew he was walking in the pouring horizontal rain. And he borrowed a pair of sweatpants from his brother, which were cotton, by the way. We're not talking performance gear here. And just this big old coat. And the man left and walked for 45 minutes at 7:30 at night in the horizontal 40-degree rain. And then he came in, toweled off, changed his clothes, and we drove to the party. In 26 years of being married to Christopher Robbins, I have never been more attracted to the man than I was in that moment. There is nothing sexier than a person who keeps their word no matter what. And the way that you make it easier to keep your word is by planning ahead. Planning ahead is about looking at the week ahead. And if you're going to eat healthy, figure out what you're cooking for the week every night. And then go to the grocery store. And if you're not going to be eating dairy or gluten like I am, this is new for me. I don't normally cook without dairy or gluten. And so this is requiring a lot of planning so that I don't just open up the fridge and hope that somehow this has magically happened that I'm going to be successful. And making a plan is a piece that's super obvious, but it's completely overlooked. You're thinking about what you need to do. Again, you're an innie organizer rather than getting out of your head and creating a plan out in the real world on paper. And the most basic plan at all is look at your fucking schedule. Look at the weather. Look at what's in your fridge. Look at what your commitments are. I'll tell you another quick story. It has to do with exercise. Day 4, 75 hard. Just like Chris, I didn't make a plan. I exercised first thing in the morning, but I didn't make a plan for the second one. So 8 p.m. rolls around. And Chris is like, when are you doing your second workout? And of course, I'm looking at the man that walks in torrential rainstorms, like without blinking an eye. And I'm like, oh, I already did my outside workout. I think I will stretch in front of the TV while we're watching Jack Ryan. How's that sound? He put his hands on his hips. My daughter was sitting there too. And he's like, get on the treadmill. Go on. We'll wait. When I tell you, in 28 years of being with a man, I don't think I've ever wanted to kill him more than in that moment. But he was right. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So let's go back to Zoe. Hi, Zoe. Slice of cake, 4 hours in. Don't make yourself wrong. You know what went wrong there? Either you really don't want to give up sugar or you just failed to plan. So if you're planning on cutting out sugar, what's your plan when you go to a party or a restaurant and cake is being served? This is what's called if-then planning. And it's researched by Heidi Halverson, who wrote about this in the Columbia University Researcher. And if-then planning is a way to keep yourself on task by creating a backup plan if your current plan doesn't work. And here's what's really cool about if-then planning. If-then planning boosts your ability to stick to goals, and they studied this with exercise, from 39% success to 91% success. If it rains, then I'll do this. If I miss my flight, then I'll do that. If I'm going to a party and I've committed to dry January, then I'm just going to bring a non-alcoholic beverage. If a friend invites me over for dinner, then I'm going to email or text them back and say, I'd love to, but I'm trying to cut out gluten and I don't want to be a pain in the ass and have you have to fuss about me. So can I bring something that's gluten-free to supplement what you're already making? Because let's face it, if you don't plan ahead, if you don't make an if-then plan, you feel embarrassed. And then you either push your food around your plate like some weirdo, or you eat and you break the promise to yourself. So if I don't get exercise done tonight, then I'm not going to binge watch TV tonight. I'm going to get my exercise done instead. If you didn't give yourself enough time to get that side project done this morning, then you're going to finish it at 7:45 tonight after you put the kids to bed. Bada bing, bada boom. Pretty cool, right? All right, now let's get to system number 5. Do it in the morning. There you go. Do it in the morning. It's that simple. As much as you may want to bitch about being a morning person or getting up earlier, getting the most important stuff done in the morning, this is the keys to the kingdom. It really is true. Being an early riser is like a first domino that falls. And once that domino falls, you've gotten yourself out of bed an hour, a half an hour earlier, all these other dominoes fall in your life. And I get it. It's hard to do. And one huge way that's going to make a big difference, and you hear me talk about this all the time, and it's because this is one of these domino habits. You do this, and it triggers a whole of change. Get your phone out of your bedroom, period. It's a huge way to hack this. And you don't want to know another way to get up early? Get a puppy, because they'll wake you up. They need to be let out. And I've learned this one. You get a puppy and you'll be a morning person. Another one, marry somebody, date somebody, sleep with somebody who gets out of bed early. Live with somebody who has a great morning routine. And look, it's not just common sense, it's science. Number 1, your willpower is the highest in the morning. Number 2, your speed of processing, highest in the morning. Your ability to focus, highest in the morning for the first 4 hours of the day. And by the way, it's likely to be the time of day that you have to yourself, the time that you can actually control before other people, little people, furry people, and all the commitments at work start taking up your attention and your time. And yeah, I get it. You've got toddlers. Well, that means if you're serious about this, you are going to have to get up a half an hour earlier before they get up, which means you're going to have to go to bed a half an hour earlier. But aren't these new habits and a better lifestyle and feeling in control of your life, isn't that worth it? That's your why. Because if you can get an extra hour every morning, you can get everything done. You can do all the little things that the future you put in place for you. You can read the Post-it note on the mirror. You can drink the bottle of water that you set out. You can write in your journal that you put in place on the table in the kitchen. You can pull on those exercise tights that you laid out. You can spend an hour getting things done. Honestly, this has been the secret to my second attempt. And look, I get it. I'm 6 days in. I'm working these systems like a mother, let me tell you. But this has been the secret. I feel 6 days in. 6 days in last time was about when I quit. I'm like, this is too, I can't fit this in. I'm going to bed. 6 days in, this feels not easy, but it feels like, okay, I got this. I got my systems. I got my head down. I'm just going to keep on plugging away at this. I'm getting the photo done. I'm getting the outside exercise done. I'm getting that done in the morning. And look, it's not a cakewalk, but it's getting done. And here's one more bonus that I want to give you, okay? You want to supersize all this? Really want to get outside of yourself? You really want to be an outie organizer when it comes to changing habits? Holy cow. Could you please stop doing this in your head alone and get out there and get a friend and do this with? Literally, whether you are texting somebody every day to check in, or you're jumping on Peloton and you're high-fiving people, or you're in a Facebook group, I got to tell you, the power of a community of people, whether it's your sisters or your high school friends, or it's your neighbors, or it's a group of strangers that are organizing themselves on a text chain, it's incredible. So Chris is doing 75 hard for now the third time. I mean, basically, it's his life. It's not even like a challenge for him. This is just his core habits. And he is leading a huge group of people through this from around the world. And he has this amazing text chain going on WhatsApp from people around the world. So every single day when I wake up, after I look in the mirror and I give myself a high five and I check the list and I start checking things off, when I finally look at my phone and I see what's going on in this WhatsApp group, it's freaking unbelievable. It is so motivating to see other people outside me, outside of my little, sphere of whatever, outside of me, outside of my little tiny town here in southern Vermont, outside of my own little brain, outside of my own little bullshit, seeing all these other people out there doing it. In fact, just 2 days ago, there was a woman in Iran on this WhatsApp text chain with a video on her morning walk out in a park in Iran, like just talking about how motivating it is, especially with what's going on in her country with women's rights, to be focused on behavior changes that she can make to tap into the power in herself. So when I'm sitting here in the pouring rain in Vermont bitching about stupid things, it's sort of like, oh, for God's sakes, Mel, get over yourself. Get your ass out there. Stop chirping about the stupid stuff that, give me a break. Doing it with people in an online group, doing it with friends in a text group chat, doing it with family members. That's what it's all about. That's how you supersize it. The encouragement of people outside of you will tap into the crazy, awesome, intrinsic motivation inside of you for why you're doing this. I know. You're welcome. Let's say you oversleep and you missed a dentist appointment. Who hasn't done that, right? Yeah. I certainly have. Yeah. If you're somebody that has good self-esteem, you go, oh, shoot, I missed the dentist appointment. I'm going to have to pay the $25 fee. I guess I'll just reschedule it, right? Mm-hmm. If you're somebody who has really low self-esteem, you go, see, you can't do anything right. You can't make it to the dentist. Everything in your life becomes evidence that you're a piece of shit. Everything in your life becomes evidence that you are doing things wrong. You see, the difference between me having done all this work on myself, therapy, EMDR, psychedelic guided therapy sessions, all of the high five habits, learning how to regulate my nervous system, dealing with childhood trauma. The difference between where I am now and where I used to be is I screw up shit all the time. I don't hook you're a piece of shit to it anymore. I'm able to allow myself to screw up and go, good people do have bad days. I'm doing my best.
Right.
I'll just pay the $25 and reschedule.
Right. And you don't hold on to it.
Correct.
Right.
Hold on to it. Most of us pour it all over ourselves. We just bathe in it. Mm-hmm. And so meaningful mantras, I should have called them pathetic mantras. You're right. Are literally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Interrupt that thought. I'm a bad person. Mm-hmm. I screw everything up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about it. And then you can insert something like, hey, I'm doing the best I can and I'm getting better every day. Hey, doing the best I can. I'm getting. That's not exactly woo, we're going to run the Ironman kind of talk. But meaningful talk is something you can believe.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I like that. again, this is because and then
I can see your wheels turning. You're like, oh my God.
I am because because it's so refreshing, and I really enjoy when people actually give you the hows, not just this is why it's happening and go on and on and on. But these are like all, and this is in this book and in your other book, tangible. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, you want to get your
Actionable.
mental health in order and you want to have better self-worth and self-love. Here's what you do. Stop sleeping with your phone so it's not next to you when you wake up. That way, when you wake up, you'll get out of bed and you won't look at social media.
Where do you put the phone? Do you keep it downstairs?
I charge it in my bathroom.
You do? Okay. So,
Yeah.
and what time are you off? What time are you off the phone at night?
Depends on the day. I mean, I don't do what's called the gray zone. So the reason why people are so screwed up right now is because you're living in what psychologists call the gray zone, which is you're never not working, which is your phone.
That's true.
And
You're right.
never not, like it's always on you. And so you never have a break ever.
That's true.
And there's no separation between work and life. And your life, like there's not going to be balance, but there can be harmony and there can be boundaries. And so one of the things that I have that's really helped me, because I love what I do for a living. It doesn't even feel like work.
Right.
I could be on my phone 24 hours a day. I'd never see my husband or my children, but I could be on my phone 24 hours a day. I have a basket in the kitchen. So I use a lot of environmental triggers to help me cheat good behavior. So an example of an environmental trigger is a basket in the kitchen that has plugs at it. So when I get home, I put my phone in the kitchen. A lot of times you can't reach me because it's sitting in the basket. It's not on me.
Right. You can't see it. It's in the
Correct.
basket.
Correct. So keeping it away from you is really important because here's the thing. You're never going to be successful if you're on your phone 24/7. Never. You're going to always be busy and mistake it for success. If you want to be wildly successful, you better get strategic and smart. And it is not smart to let this thing use you. You need to be the one using it. And so I put it in the basket in the kitchen when I'm home because we don't have phones when we're having a family dinner. And it would, I just celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary. And thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the phone has been one of our biggest fights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
me too.
just being distracted and not present with each other. So that's helped a lot. When I go to bed, it's in the bathroom. And for everybody that's worried because you're a single parent or you've got a job that you work a shift that you need to be available, no problem. Tell people, call me if you need me and leave the ringer on. But tell them if you text me, I'm not going to respond. It's amazing. People will text you in the middle of the night, but they won't call you unless it's an emergency. So that way you ensure that you get a good night's sleep because you're not sitting there going to bed watching it or scrolling through it. Then when you wake up and the alarm rings, you have to get out of bed because it's in the bathroom. When you walk toward the bathroom, you have enough presence now to know that you're going to turn it off and flip it over. And now you've got a fighting chance to have the first 30 minutes of the day be for you. You're going to brush your teeth. You're going to stand in front of the mirror and you're going to have a moment with yourself where you're going to think about who you're going to be today. You're going to think about what's important to you today. And then you're going to raise your hand and you're going to high five yourself. And the other thing that happens and why this is so powerful, in addition to the subconscious programming, I just spent a ton of time with Dr. Daniel Amen, one of the world's leading experts.
He was
as you
on
know.
here, yep.
And he said he was so excited about the high five habit, not only because of all the stuff with neurobics, which is marrying neuroscience and neural pathways with aerobic activity. It's the fastest way to build new neural pathways, by the way. He was also super excited about it because when you cross a finish line, you raise your hands in the air. When the band that you love comes out, you raise your hands in the air. When you go to high five or double high five somebody, you raise your hands in the air. When you pat somebody on the back, you lift your arms in the air. The lifting, whether it's a high five or a fist bump or whatever, is coded into your nervous system as a positive rush. Remember how we talked about that anxiety rush?
Yes.
This is a positive energy force.
Right.
And so one of the reasons why it feels good if you can push through the fact that it feels weird and you try it for more than 5 days is because your nervous system starts to jump in. The other thing that happens is you get a drip of dopamine.
Yeah.
And that is why you suddenly feel a little lighter. You feel a little boost in your mood. You feel your shoulders drop. You feel like, okay, my life sucks right now, but I got this.
Right. And then the whole thing is if you keep your phone in your bathroom and then you're not allowed to check the phone until you finish. Or is it 30 minutes, or just you have to do the high five first?
Do what works for you. Like for me,
don't you get stuck in the bathroom just checking your emails?
Absolutely not. You know why?
Why?
My mental health and my goals, my finances, my family, my dreams, way more important than what's on that fucking phone.
Right. So you don't check any emails for how long? For 30 minutes, you said?
I try.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
Depends on the day.
Okay.
My husband's up at like 5. I'm like, I'm doing 75 hard right now, so I'm getting up a little bit earlier.
You're doing what?
That challenge 75 hard.
What is that challenge 75 hard?
It's some...
Well, I guess I'm like out in the. I guess I have no idea.
Amy's doing it too. We got roped into it. My husband and my daughter are doing it.
I've heard of it actually. But
it's 75 days. It's very male. Like I've decided I'm going to come up with something called like 21 days easier.
Oh, I think
is
this the
like
one that
thing.
Jesse Itzler's doing? No, that's not.
I have no idea.
Okay, no.
But it's like 2 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside.
I did hear about this actually.
Gallon of water. You have to stick to a particular diet of your choosing. No alcohol. 10 pages of nonfiction. What else do we have to do?
So you have to do 240.
Workout, read,
water. Oh, progress photo. And you've got to do it 75 days in a row. And if you miss one day, you're out. You got to go back to 0.
So is it too late to start?
You can start anytime you want. It's not like a thing. It's like a thing you do yourself or with a group.
2 45-minute workouts a day. Can it be anything?
I walk my dog. Check.
For 45
I stretch.
minutes?
Check. Yeah, I'm into winning. Like, I don't know about everybody else, but this is the other thing. I have been like, and the high five habit is not for losers because we very wildly successful people, we tend to harp on the things going wrong. Mm-hmm. You will have so much more success and more joy and be a better leader if you are able to laser focus and celebrate the things going right.
But how do you teach that really?
You stand in front of a damn mirror
and you do the high five.
Yes.
So okay,
I know you do not want to believe it.
I know I do believe it. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna join the challenge. How about that?
You can do the 70. Yeah, do the high five challenge. High five challenge. 5 million people. 5 mornings in a row.
Okay.
Today we're talking about a topic that I'm getting a ton of questions about, like this one from Sarah.
Hey Mel, this is Sarah, and I have a question. Are there actually ways to unlock sudden, rapid steps to big change in a short period of time, or is this a dangerous misconception?
Yes, Sarah, there is a way to unlock sudden change, and it's called habits. And that's what we're all going to talk about today. You and I are going to talk about the science of habits. I want to repeat Sarah's question because I want to make sure that we unpack a couple elements in it, and then we're going to jump into the science of habits. So Sarah's question was this. Are there ways to unlock sudden, rapid steps to big change in a short period of time? Or is this a dangerous misconception? Now, I said yes. There is a way for you to experience big change in a short period of time if you change how you view yourself. I mean, that's the biggest kind of change that you can experience. When you change your identity, when you change what you believe is possible, that's transformational. Now, one of the things that Sarah said, though, is she asked, is it a dangerous misconception to think that big change happens immediately? And that brings me to the topic of habits. See, change doesn't happen overnight. But when you understand the science of habits, what you realize is that change, little change, it compounds daily. And the massive change that you experience in a short period of time when you focus on habit formation is how you relate to yourself. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that you set a goal, that this is the year that you are going to run your first marathon. You're going to train for it. You're going to finish the race. Now, it will take time. It's going to take you time to achieve that goal. But if you make it a habit to wake up every day and get out the door and go for that training run, within a matter of days, something kind of crazy happens. You experience this massive change because you start to see yourself differently. You start to see yourself as a runner. Now, have you achieved that goal yet? No. That's going to take time. But the power of habits is that as you practice them, they start to change your identity. They become evidence that you're the kind of person that goes for a run. So in the beginning, habits are just something that you and I do. But over time, habits change who you are. So I'm excited for this because if you're somebody who's struggling to change, like maybe you're trying to become a better student, or you want to be better with your money, or more organized, or you'd love a rock solid morning routine, or how about carving out the time to put yourself first? That'd be a great habit. Or this is the year that you're going to become better at sleeping. You're going to make it a habit to go to bed earlier. Or I'm seeing a lot of you writing in with questions about launching a new business. You want to make it a habit to work on it. I see that. That's awesome. You're going to love this episode and everything you're about to learn because habits are the evidence that you see that you're becoming a different person. And that shows up before you achieve the goal that you set. And this is why the science is so powerful. One of the other things I want to remind you is that this episode on the science of habits, it's part of a month-long series that I'm doing where you and I are covering the foundational topics that you need to understand and apply to your life so that you can create a better life. And just a few days ago, I released an episode on goal setting. And if you've listened to it, fantastic. If you haven't listened to it, no problem. It's there. You can listen to it at any time. Listen to it right after you finish this one. In fact, all the episodes this month work together. They stand alone. Listen to them in any order. It's totally cool. And you're going to also see that there's a big connection between setting goals the right way, according to research, and how habits are an integral part of that. Today, what we're going to cover is you're going to learn what a habit is. And even if you think you know what a habit is, I want you to listen. Because research shows that most of us think we know, but we don't actually know what a habit is or how to apply what we know to making a habit stick. The other thing that we're going to cover is the 3 parts of a habit. These 3 parts are required. This is all grounded in decades and decades of research, and you need these 3 parts present in order to encode that habit into your brain as a brand new automatic behavior. And that's where really like the secret sauce comes in. We're also going to talk about how these 3 parts and understanding them, it's essential not only to forming new habits, but you need to understand these 3 parts because they help you break the bad or old habits that you're tired of in your life. And here's one more thing I want to say up front. I promise this is going to be really eye-opening and it's going to be somewhat of a relief. Because the science of habits, everybody gets all fancy and researchy and neuroscience and psychology and biology. But the truth is, habits are pretty simple. The research on habits has not changed in years and years and years and years and years, decades really. And the way that I explain the science of habits is so simple that even your puppy could understand it. I'm not kidding. There are only 3 steps to making a habit stick. That's it. And so even if you've listened to a bazillion episodes about habits, even if you've read a ton of books out there, I want you to stick around and stay with me on this. Because according to the 2 women that created all the research that absolutely everybody cites, you may have heard that there are 3 parts to the habit. Well, you can thank Dr. Ann Grabiel at MIT and Dr. Wendy Wood at USC for creating the fact that there are 3 essential parts to every habit. These 2 researchers, they are the founders, the grandmothers of habit research. Every book that you've read is working on their research. Every podcast interview, they're talking about their research. Nothing has changed about habit research in decades. But here's the issue. Those 2 women will tell you, even if you think you know habits, you still struggle with making behavior stick. And so my mission today is to make this so simple that you don't have a problem implementing the research anymore. Because I think there's a reason why none of us implement these 3 essential parts of a habit, even if we know about them. And there are 2 reasons why. Number 1, we get all emotional about what we need to do. We know the 3 things that make up a habit, and yet we have like feelings and opinions and all that stuff about it. That's number 1. And number 2, we human beings overcomplicate everything. We talk about habits. We think we're so fancy and educated. We can fly to the moon. We can drive in electric cars. We can do all these amazing things. And I think we forget that when it comes to habits, it's just these 3 things. It has nothing to do with your feelings. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. In fact, Dr. Wendy Wood says almost nobody understands what habits are. And so you may know the definition, you may know the 3 things that you're about to learn, but when you are put to the test, are you actually able to make changes and get them to stick? No, not really. So Dr. Wendy Wood has determined that almost everybody gets this wrong, which is why we're going to simplify this. So let's just start with the basics. What is a habit? A habit is something that you do so often that it's automatic. That's it. That's all that a habit is. There's no drama. There's no resistance. There's no feelings involved in it. I like to think about it like a habit is something that you do that you don't even think about. And you certainly don't put up a fight about it, right? Here are some examples of habits in your life. Brushing your teeth, looking over your right shoulder when you're backing up in the car, or if you're in the US, that's what you do. For our fans of the podcast over in the UK, you're probably looking over the left shoulder. You don't even think about that, do you? You got to back up, you just turn and look. You get something to eat when you're hungry, that's a habit. You check email first thing in the morning, that's a habit. When you hear your name, don't you turn your head and look in the direction of it? That's a habit. Why are habits awesome? I'll tell you why habits are awesome. Because when a behavior becomes automatic, there's zero drama in your life. It's just so much easier. Like, I'll give you my husband. The man is Mr. Habit. He just rolls out of bed like nothing's happened. He gets up, he gets dressed, he meditates, he goes to the gym, he walks the dog, he journals. He does it automatically. No drama. There are certainly areas in my life where I would love to be less dramatic, less emotional, less resistant to the things that I want to do. I'd love to just sort of roll through it like my husband does. And so let's not just make this like a conversation. Let's move from listening to doing. If I could take a science-backed magic wand and I could remove all the resistance that you feel in your body, what is one behavior change that you would like to make? One new habit, or, sometimes it's easier to say, what's a bad habit you'd like to break? Do you chew your nails? Do you hit the snooze button 5 times? Said in the positive, what's a new habit you'd like to create? Would you like to exercise every day? Do you want to get your finances in order and be more responsible with money? I'm going to give you a few examples, okay? Would you love to be the kind of person where part of your routine is to get outside and exercise every day? Or how about the kind of person who keeps your room or your desk clean, or you have a 0 inbox? That'd be pretty awesome. Would you like to be the kind of person that gets up 30 minutes earlier than you do right now? Just rolls right out of bed like my husband does? Or how about the kind of person who feels comfortable in social settings? You push yourself out there a little bit more. You, push through that discomfort. You feel a little bit more outgoing. Maybe you want to make it a habit to meditate and feel like you're the kind of person that's more mindful. That's where the science of habits is so important. And so now that you've kind of stopped to think, what's a habit I want to break, or what's a behavior change I want to make, the kind of person I want to become, I have a free worksheet that's a companion to this episode that you can download. You can go to melrobbins.com/habits, and it will serve as a guide to this episode. It's going to help you apply everything that we talk about in this episode. Now, why do habits matter so much? I'll tell you why habits matter. You've learned one reason, and that has to do with identity, right? But the real reason why habits matter is because learning new habits are the only way to go from what your day-to-day life looks like right now to something different. It's the only way. It's the bricks on the pathway to changing your life. That's what habits are. And habits are evidence. Every time that you get out that door and you go for the run, it's evidence that you are becoming a particular type of person. The other reason why habits are so important habits are so important is because they make your life easier. I mean, I want you to just stop and consider something. Think about how hard it is to be the kind of person who has a habit of hitting the snooze button 4 or 5 times every morning. And then you drag yourself out of bed. That's a habit. And you start your day chronically late. That's a habit. I used to do this. This was the Mel Robbins that you did not know. I was a chronic snooze button hitter. I would drag myself out of bed. By the time I got out of bed, the kids had missed the bus. I started the day behind. It was a nightmare. It was so hard to have that bad habit. And in order to change, I needed to become a different person. I needed to become a person that got up when the alarm rang, that had a morning routine, and that organized my morning so that I would begin the day with a sense of accomplishment. That's what I wanted. Instead of beginning the day like I was behind and I was already failing before I got out of bed. And the gateway to making that change is changing your habits in the morning. When you have habits that support you and your goals and the kind of person you want to become, your life gets easier. And that's why habits truly matter. Sure, you could muscle your way out of bed every morning. You could drag yourself to the gym. You could berate yourself endlessly until you got more motivated and aggressive and vocal at work. But that change is never going to stick. It's never going to become automatic. It's never going to become who you are. Why? Because you're forcing yourself. You're relying on willpower and brute force to push through the bad habits that you have of sleeping in or staying silent or blowing things off or procrastinating. And that's where these 3 steps come in. What I'm going to teach you today doesn't require willpower. You're going to learn how to use science to make new behavior a part of your wiring. This resistance thing, it is so important. And I think we underestimate how much bad habits are in our life and running our lives and how it's making your life harder. So I'm going to give you a simple example of a habit that I currently have so that I can really unpack this resistance thing, okay? So I have a habit of making a cup of coffee every single morning. I love my morning coffee. I do. And it is so automatic, I don't have to think about it. I know how to work the coffee machine. I know how to work the milk foamer. I know exactly where the coffee pods are. I can literally be doing 15 other things while I make a cup of coffee. That's how automatic of a habit it is. It is easy. I don't even think about it. What if I told you that you could make any change in behavior feel as effortless as making a cup of coffee? Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I don't stand in front of the coffee maker and go, oh, it's raining outside. I don't want any coffee. I don't feel like it today. I'm too tired. I don't want to. No, it's a habit, so I just do it. And I'm saying this because this is what the research says. The research says when you apply the 3 things that you're about to learn to every behavior change, whether it's breaking an old habit or learning a new one, you will make your life easier. Another thing that's important for you to hear is that successful people, based on the research from UPenn, they're not smarter than you. They don't have more willpower than you. You know what they have? They have what Chris has, my husband. They just put in the work to create better habits that make them feel successful and make their life easier. And the more you apply what you're about to learn, the more behavior change you can stack along the way. You can create a chain of behavior change. It's so cool. Just like Chris rolls out of bed and walks into the bathroom and brushes his teeth and doesn't even think about it, and then gets on his exercise clothes, then goes and meditates. Like, that's a chain of behavior. That's a chain of habits. He doesn't even think about it. Because every new habit that you want to create, it's the exact same 3-step process. I am telling you, do not overcomplicate this. Do not think you're fancy. Whether you want to break a bad habit or you want to encode new ones, let's not overcomplicate this. And I know what you're thinking, Mel, if this is so simple, why is it so hard to get to the gym? Why can I not stop emotional eating? Why am I chewing my nails? Why is it easy to talk about it but hard to make it stick? Just accept at face value what you're about to learn. You and I learn new behavior the exact same way a new puppy does. And I'm going to prove it to you. Not everything in life needs to be so hard or so complicated. So let's all just take a deep breath. because we're about to make habits easy. And this is why, by the way, the research shows that nobody understands how to apply the research, because we read, oh, it's just these 3 steps. And we're like, no, it can't be. We want to think that we're special, but no, we're not. You are like a puppy. And this is why it's so hard to accept the truth. And you want to know something crazy? So right before I came up here to talk to you about habits, honest to goodness, you know what I was doing? I was standing in my kitchen with my family of 5, and we were in the middle of a dog training session. I'm not making this up. We have a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd named Yolo and a 5-month-old puppy named Homie. And Homie needs new habits. Homie is not going to go from being a puppy to a beautifully trained dog without us training him. You are the same way as Homie. Right now, there are areas of your life where you're doing whatever the hell you want to do, just like my puppy is. And you and I are going to go back to obedience school, back to the basics. That's what habits are about. And as I was sitting there watching this training session with our 2 dogs, I'm thinking, holy smokes, it really is this simple.
I have a personal friend who is struggling right now, and
Why?
she doesn't listen to my financial struggles, lost her house, some poor financial decisions. There was job loss. There's, overeating. She's overweight. Drinking's not an issue, but just like there's a lot of really good in her life too, where I keep trying to remind her, but just really, let's go for a walk. Let's do things. Let's start taking some positive action. And I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying and this downward spiral that you were in. And it's when you're not, I keep thinking she just feels helpless. Like that's the word that keeps coming up. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there that might be listening and say, I can relate to that feeling of I'm on this downward spiral in X, Y, and Z part of my life. And I just don't know what to do. So it's easier to wait, not easier, but like to wave the white flag and just stay in that is like the devil you know versus the devil you don't, because you don't know what's on the other side. Or maybe I don't, then you start to say, maybe I don't deserve happiness, or maybe I don't deserve this. You start telling yourself these narratives. So you had this epiphany, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word. So you did this and it changed your life. Can you walk us through a little bit about that? And then I just want people that might be feeling going, it can't be that simple. Like I can't be.
It's not easy. It is simple.
Yes.
It is not easy. And the reason why change is not easy is because your brain loves patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you get caught in a pattern where you are hitting the snooze button 5 times a morning and waking up late and stressed and overwhelmed, as much as you may hate that feeling, you are locked in a pattern. And the problem that everybody faces is instead of hating the pattern, you hate yourself.
Mm.
And it is critical that you understand in any area of your life where you are stuck, all that's happening is you have patterns of behavior and patterns of thinking that are keeping you stuck. And what you must do, rule number 1, is you must stop labeling yourself. You must stop saying, I'm a bad person. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. You must stop labeling yourself, and you must start labeling the behavior you don't like. Waking up late is making me feel bad. Drinking an entire bottle of wine and waking up hungover makes me feel like a failure. Snapping at my kids is a behavior that makes me feel like I'm not good enough or that I'm failing as a mom. Do you see the difference between saying I'm a failure because I keep snapping at my kids? I'm not good enough because I drank a bottle of wine last night. There I go again. I'm a bad person because I keep hitting the snooze button and I can't get out of bed. When you can separate yourself from the behavior you want to change, you now are free to change the behavior without indicting, sentencing, and locking yourself in a jail of self-criticism. Under the weight of that self-criticism, I am a bad person, I screw everything up, I'm a failure. That weight of self-criticism is the reason why you don't feel inspired to change. This opinion became a belief. And as you repeat it and keep saying it and saying it, see, I didn't pay my bills, I'm a bad person. See, I didn't do this, I'm a bad person. See, I didn't do that, I'm screwing up my life. See. And you keep labeling yourself, it becomes your identity. And then all sorts of stuff kicks in your brain in terms of the filter of your brain. And so step number one in changing your life, stop labeling yourself and start identifying and labeling the patterns of behavior and patterns of thinking that make you feel bad. And then go to work and fucking change them.
I love it, because so much of what I do when I talk to people is, talking to people about whether it's their physical clutter, their emotional clutter, or what I call calendar clutter, being overscheduled and running.
I have that.
And
I have that.
That's my dominant type of clutter. But we talk about clutter is just the symptom. It's just the symptom of the bigger issue that's going on.
True.
And so a lot of the work that I do, because I like to pretend like I'm a psychologist, I play one on TV, is about understanding that these are behavior changes that we do to take those actionable steps in our life, specifically relating to something simple like we're going to open the mail. So we're not going to have late fees. We're going to pay our bills on time, because we're going to start with a little changing our behavior of opening the mail. That's just one example.
As you know, opening bills is one of the most confronting things in the world for somebody who feels that they have made bad financial decisions. It is not a little thing. It's everything.
I couldn't agree more. And when I have people that talk to me about their clutter, and they say, well, I have a lot of physical clutter and it's specifically paper and mail, and I unpack that with them, I explain to them that really paper clutter is 9 times out of 10 emotional clutter. It stems from guilt or fear or overwhelm. And we procrastinate because we don't know what to do. And so it is so much more emotional than it is. It manifests itself in piles of paper and physical stuff. But at the end of the day, when I walk into somebody's house and I see bags of unopened mail, that's an emotional issue. That is not, I'm a busy mom running a million different directions and I've got toys everywhere and I just need a better system to put them away. That's a different type of a situation that you need to address. And so your strategy is going to be different. So a lot of the work, obviously, that you do is about helping people be the best versions of themselves, which I believe when you feel good about yourself. And I was just having this conversation with a girlfriend of mine yesterday. When I walk into somebody's house and I see chaos and clutter, I don't judge anybody, because who am I? But I look at it as what is chaotic in your life that it's manifesting like this. Like this is a symptom of something else crazy going on in your world. Something's out of alignment in your world.
So tell everybody your project, and then let's talk about the thing that you're still kind of stuck or struggling with.
So the project is to be aware, to understand, and to know myself as a teacher. And the thing that I'm stuck on, I was sitting there thinking about it. The thing that I'm stuck on is that I have a bazillion ideas about things that I can create and do, and courses and trainings and la-di-da-di-da.
Who can relate?
And so actually moving from the idea and even creating the whole curriculum and all of that to actually making it happen.
Yeah.
And doing it.
So I have a cool strategy that I use, and I hope it works for you. So I carry a little notebook, and I actually borrowed this from Chris, because when we lived in New York City, he used to carry around a notebook like this size, and whenever he had an idea, he'd just jot it down, then he'd stick it in his back pocket, and it was just full of all kinds of stuff. So I carry around a notebook, and this one's new, so it doesn't really have much in it. As ideas come, I just jot it down in that notebook. And then what happens for me is I get anxiety because I'm afraid that I'm going to forget the idea. Then that anxiety makes me get distracted and unfocused and overwhelmed. And so I think if you were to have a little notebook on you at all times, and when those creative juices and those impulses go, that you jot them down, that's going to remove one layer of the overwhelm. Okay? The next thing I would do, what are the top 3 things in terms of all this creative stuff that you're interested in doing? What's the top 3 projects that inspire you the most?
Story. Really getting people's story.
Okay.
And getting into the story and understanding how what we've created, what we've had, what those stories are and what we can do with them to make our lives work and what is working, because there's lots and lots and lots of attention on what's up.
Yes.
But there's so much that's working.
Yes. So
I mean, even the question that you're asking us, like, what happened to you?
Yes.
That has you break down?
Yes.
What happened to us that has us be in this room?
I thought you were inspired, right? Yeah, that's the good thing, right?
Yeah.
So do you see how you light up when you talk about that? So to me, it's very clear that your energy is about focusing on what's good and what is working, and elevation and amplification. I mean, even in the way that you dress, when I talk about shaking and the essence, the vibrancy of you. And so I think all that's missing is the right vehicle for expressing that. I want you to pick one thing that you're going to do, whether it's writing a book or blogging every week and starting to archive all of these things and amplifying your own voice on this topic. What do you see?
Good stuff.
Of course, right? Yeah. So what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, thanks to somebody whose name I can't remember right now, but who I know is here, who I saw on their page, 750 words, I started writing again.
Fabulous.
And so I'm writing every day, and I'm on like a 21-day streak or something like that.
Wow.
And from that, that's how Sacred Musings, which is a series of writings that I've done, was born. Was from the 750 Words Project.
Wow.
And so it's coming again. And it's, yeah.
See, to me, you are the voice. The project isn't about anything or anyone else.
Right.
It's about your voice.
Right.
And so I also want you to consider that as long as you are doing something to express your voice in some small way every day, that is the path. And all of the other stuff, you're getting distracted by the how and the what it looks like. And I want you to join me in that journey of embracing that you're actually an artist and you're a writer and you are somebody that's out in the world expressing your ideas in a multitude of ways. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you, so make sure you subscribe. Mwah.